Hey everyone, this month's topic is just like a recap of the past term and like where you were at with dissertation and just other stuff in your life as well, because me and the other girls on this project, we were kind of at our last meeting just kind of having a think and realising that we were all feeling by the end of the term just like very low battery and just running on no energy. So we thought like we would do a little recap just to look back and see what's happened. And I feel like the first place to start for me was just to like reflect back over the past term and just have a think about what progress I've made, because it's really easy to think at this point in the term, well, at the end of first term, like you might have thought, oh, I've got so much of my dissertation still ahead of me, got so like second term's going to be even worse and all of this. But actually thinking back, I've made a lot of progress in terms of my dissertation this past term. I may not have started to write it yet, but I have a really solid idea of what I want to do it on, and I've done loads of research. So in that sense, I've made loads of progress, and I should feel quite good about that. Again, like I've had to think about over the past term, like what have I found challenging and why has it been challenging? So something that we all struggled with, me and the other girls, is just balancing uni work with other stuff in our life. That's been really difficult, especially because I've got a part-time job and I was having to wake up sometimes at like 6:30 on a Saturday or a Sunday to get to this job. And bearing in mind I live in Hyde Park, so even if you're not going out, it's so loud that you just can't fall asleep until like 2-3 in the morning. So that, I realised, for me really wasn't sustainable. So I'm starting to think about, okay, I found that challenging, and maybe how did that have impacts on other parts of my life, like my ability to like see friends, do exercise, like rest as well. And again, like, what am I proud of? So similar to the first bullet point, I'm proud that I've managed to find a dissertation topic that I'm actually really interested in and I want to write it about. So that's really cool, because not everyone can say that. And again, this fourth bullet point, like, how has this term left me feeling? By the end of the term, I was feeling pretty drained. Like, for the last few weeks, I was probably running on like what felt like 40% at all times. And that was, to do with dissertation stuff, just also to do with it being winter. Like, that can be really hard, having the energy when it's just dark like half of the time. Having the motivation to get out of bed and be productive is so much more difficult. Coming back from Christmas break is when I need to start thinking about what should take priority. So in relation to these first two bullet points, you've got quite self-explanatory stuff which should take priority. For example, which of your modules have you got imminent deadlines for, and therefore which assignments should I tackle first? So what I always do is just create a little list of all the modules I've got and the assignments for each one, and then put the date that each assignment is due next to the module. And then really easily you can kind of start to work out what you should tackle first and how long you've got for each one, and if there's overlaps, and then like how to dedicate certain amounts of time. It just makes it much easier once you've got it like laid out in front of you. In relation to this third bullet point though, it's not just about what uni work you've got, it's also about what different parts of your life should take priority, especially when you're coming into the final months of your degree and your dissertation. Like, for me, I'm starting to think about, okay, which parts of my life aren't contributing to either, my uni work or my general well-being, and what can sort of take a back seat. So, as I mentioned before, in first time I had a part-time job, and over the break I just realised that this job was really taking a toll on me and starting to impact other parts of my life in not the best ways. So I have decided to quit my job, just so I've got more time for other things which will be more beneficial. But that's not to say at all that anyone who's got a part-time job should quit, especially if you need a job for financial security. All I would say in that sense is, if you do need a job, just make sure it's one that isn't too stressful and isn't like kind of starting to consume your energy and your attention to the point where when you do get to your uni work, you're just exhausted because you've been working too much. So yeah, in that sense, and it means now I've got more time, to dedicate to my dissertation and getting stuff done, but also in the meantime, when I need a break from uni work, I actually have the time to do stuff which will make me feel better as well. After first term, I cannot stress this enough, like, in the holidays, give yourself rest. Because there's a tendency to just feel really guilty if, like, you go home and spend the first 2 weeks back at home not doing any uni work. Especially in third year, you can feel so bad about yourself and get really stressed by the amount of work that you potentially, like, haven't done. But honestly, I cannot say this enough, like, giving yourself rest is the most productive thing you can do for yourself, especially if you feel really low and drained after this term. And it's fine, like, you shouldn't feel bad about that, because then if you're catching up on sleep or, like, you know, strengthening your friendships with your family and your friends, going on a walk, like, all of this stuff is so beneficial for you. And even though your degree is important, it's also really good to remember that, like, it's not the be all and end all of your life. Like, there's other things in your life which should be as important, like your mental health, your physical health. That stuff is far more long term than this short period of time right now where you're going to be a bit stressed about uni work. In the grand scheme of things, your happiness and your health should come first. So if you feel like those two things are taking a toll, then put the uni work on pause, and I promise you, when you go back to it feeling better in yourself and more rested, you're going to find it so much easier to tackle these tasks, and you'll complete them to a much higher quality as well. So don't feel bad about giving yourself some time off. Coming back from Christmas break, having had a bit of a rest, and it's the start of a new year and a new term, perfect time to set some goals for yourself. And some of these can be pretty obvious. They can be very set in stone dates for specific assignments or essays which are due, which you haven't set yourself. It's more just things that you need to bear in mind and focus in on. But then, on the other hand, as I've mentioned before, you know, uni work and your dissertation is not the only thing that's important in your life. You've also got all these other aspects that you care about and value. And so, especially at a time where you can really, really easily just get lost in all the work that you feel needs to get done, and then you sort of let other parts of your life just fall to the wayside, setting goals for other non-uni parts of your life is a really good way to make sure that they still keep a priority in your habits and your routines. So, for example, for me, like, I know exercise makes me feel really good. So given that I'm going to have more work in second term, how can I make sure that I'm still going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week? Because that will make me feel good about myself, and then also give me a needed break from the work, so that when I come back to it, as I said before, I'm fresh and I feel better and I can, you know, complete it to a higher level. So setting goals for those parts of your life is super important, and then building them into your habits or your routine makes them easier to get done. That's everything for now, but yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I hope it's good for you to know that, like, everyone is pretty much feeling the same way, especially after the first term and third year. Like, I don't think I spoke to anyone who was feeling particularly, like, good and healthy and on top of things. So it's really normal to feel quite, like, stressed out and low energy. But coming into second term, it's a new year, like, especially for me, I just want to come at it in a very positive way and just compartmentalise and break stuff down so it doesn't feel like such an uphill battle to get to the end in May. Just having these steps will allow you to have an easier journey getting there. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. Thanks.